Om Shri Ganesha Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Hari Om. Bhashyakara Shankaracharya has concluded the Anatma topic. This was concluded in verses 122 and 123. The entire world that we experience, the outside, the external world, as well as our own body, the sense organs, prana, mind, intellect, they are all products of the elements. The external objects are products of Maya. And so also our internal mental experiences, they are also the same. So they are all included in Anatma, the not self. That we saw in verse 122. Then after that, Maya Karyam Sarvam Mahadadi Deha Paryantam Asat Idam Anatma Tattvam Vidhi Tvam Marumarichika Kalpam. Maya, this Maya, Prakriti, and all products of Maya, they all come under Anatma Tattva, the not self. The entire Anatma is experience, but it does not have a real existence of its own. So after that topic, elaborate discussion on Anatma, Shankaracharya begins the Atma topic. Atate sampravakshyami swarupam paramatmanah yet vijnaya naro bandhat muktah kaivalyam ashnute. So he says, I am now going to begin this topic of Atma, and I shall very clearly tell you the nature of this Paramatma, Supreme Self. What is the benefit of this knowledge? If you gain this knowledge, you will all bondage. So having introduced the Atma topic in this way, in verse 125, he says, Asti kaschit swayam nityam aham pratyaya lambanaha avasthatraya sakshi san panchakosha vilakshanaha. A brief description of Atma. It is something self-dependent. It is independent. It is eternal. It supports the I thought and thereby everything. It is the witness of everything. All the three states of experience. And it is different from the five sheets. And now he continues to elaborate more. Let us read verse 126. Yo vijanati sakalam jagrat swapna sushuptishu buddhi tadvritti sadbhavam buddhistadvitti sadbhavam abhavamaham ityayam yo vijanati sakalam jagrat swapna sushuptishu buddhi tadvritti sadbhavam abhavamaham ityayam. So the Atma Chaitanyam, Yaha Sakalam Vijanati, which is aware of everything. It is that which illumines. It is this consciousness, this Atma Chaitanya consciousness, that alone is aware of everything. Here, you should be careful. The word Vijanati literally means knows. So we are using the verb to know. Generally, a verb indicates an action. And an action is prompted by a will. I want to do that, and then I do the action. And that action will start at a particular time. It'll last for a while. It'll end. All that is there. So whenever a verb is used, action is involved. Will is involved. So many limitations are involved. Okay. So by looking at the word vijanati as a verb to know, you have to be careful. It's not that way. You should not extend that. In the case of Atma knowing, it's not that Atma knows. It thinks this is something I should know. Right? I don't know this. It would be nice to get this knowledge. So I will make effort. I want to know the science of medicine. So I go to a medical school. I want to know the world of finance. Okay? Or economics. So I will pursue, I want to go to university and learn. It's not that way. It's not that Atma uses that kind of a will and decides to know and pursues that knowledge, and in that way it has known everything. It's not that way. Whenever we say Atma is aware of something, it is not an action. What it means is Atma being the very awareness. It is awareness itself. Sat Chit. The Chit is jnanam, satyam, jnanam. So these are all the various descriptions. So it is knowledge itself, awareness itself. So everything gets to be known in the presence of Atma. This is how we should understand that. When you read the word vijaniti, this is how you should understand. Knowing is not an action done by Atma, but anything around Atma is known. In the presence of Atma, everything gets to be known. Therefore, no action is involved. No wish and will, nothing. No time is involved. Just like, we say the sun illumines the earth. When I say the sun illumines the earth, it does not mean the sun decided that day, I am going to light up this earth. And then it gives a light for some time between sunrise and sunset. It's not like that. And you don't have to do Surya Namaskara to please sun so that he will bless you with the sunlight. And if you don't do, he's going to withdraw that light. No. Sun's illumination is not a planned action. It's planned action. It is not. There is no question of, sun is there up there, and as the earth revolves and rotates on its axis, it comes in the presence of sun, it gets lit up. That's all. Whichever part of the earth is exposed to the sun, that part gets the light illumination. We say the sun illumines the earth as if we put the responsibility on the sun to illumine. It's not like that. The correct expression would be in the presence of the sun. Illumination is its swarupam. And because of that, the earth gets illumined. Same idea. So everything around the Atma gets to be known. In the presence of that consciousness, in the presence of awareness, everything gets to be known. We give credit to the Atma and use a verb which is only figurative or a compromised expression. We really should not be using that word. Anyhow, we say, Yaha sakalam vijanati, Atma knows everything. Jagrat swapna sushuptishu, knows everything in the waking, dream, and deep sleep states. What that means is, everything that is known in those three states, it is known because of the presence of Atma. That is how we need to understand. So in the last shloka, it was said, Avastatraya Sakshi. Avastatraya Sakshi San, we read. This is an explanation for that sentence. Atma is aware in Jagrata Avastha, waking state, Swapna Avastha, dream state, and Sushupti Avastha, deep sleep state also. Everything in these three states, Atma illumines. We have done this analysis many, many times. We have analyzed the three states of experience. All our entire life can be defined into two things. You are experiencing your active mind. That is during the waking state. You are experiencing a passive mind. That's all. It is extremely active, fully blossomed mind in the waking state, and partially so in dream, and deep sleep, passive. Mind is not active, it is dormant, but still there is this Ati Sukshma Vritti, that is there. People that it does not illumine the external world or your thoughts, etc. It just experiences, illumines that experience, that Atma is there, the ignorance is there, it's a witness. As a witness, it's there. Ati Sukshma Vritti, that's all. So it's as good as not being there. This is our life. We go through these three states every day. 3-4 states of experience we go through. Now, when you say, I'm experiencing this Vivekacu class, do you know what you are experiencing? The sound from my talking is entering through your ears. That sound forms a variety of thoughts in your mind. In those sound thoughts, you experience this Vivekacu class. Suppose at this moment, you start thinking about something else. I hope not. But if you are thinking about something else, you will quit experiencing this class. You're experiencing something else determined by the thoughts in your mind. Thus, the thoughts are created from the external world and the thoughts are created from your own memory. These are all the experiences of an active mind. In dream also, you experience a mind that is created from your memory, from your mental impressions. Therefore, you are experiencing throughout the day, everything happens in the mind only. The waking and dream states are in which buddhi tat vriddhi sadbhavam. Buddhi is also there. Buddhi vritti is also there. Thoughts, intellect, thoughts of the intellect, they are there. So Jagrat and Swapna are those two states in which there is the presence of the mind and thought modifications. Then Sushupti, in deep sleep, that state is a state in which Tat Abhava, that buddhi, that mind is not there. Buddhi vritti is not there. So every experience, whatever you experience, is a sign of that thought modification. So no experience can take place without that vritti, thought modification. From the start of the class to the end, if you are hearing every word of mine, every word must enter your ears, enter your buddhi, and form a thought. The experience of the class is only the experience of the thought pattern in your intellect, in your mind. The absence of such thought patterns is the deep sleep state. This is not only at the Shabda level. I've given you the example of this class meeting, which is happening through the sound, but all transactions, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, touch, form and color, taste, smell, everything. Each experience corresponds to a thought in the mind. The world you experience is only an inner thought world. Why do we say so? Very simple. Suppose your mind does not form any thought pattern. As even I am talking, nothing happens in your mind. For you, the Shabda Prapancha, non-existent. For example, for a deaf person, the world of sound is not there. Even though the world is there outside, all sounds are there. For him, it is as good as non-existent because he doesn't experiencing the He's not experiencing the world outside of sounds. Similarly, for a blind person, 1/5 of the world is gone. He doesn't experience that, forms and colors. But for us, who are blessed with all the 5 sense organs, we are experiencing the world. And all of that is in the form of thought only. So, Jagrata Avastha, the waking state, is a bunch of vrittis, thoughts. And Swapna Avastha is a bunch of another set of vrittis. And Sushupti Avastha is the absence of any thoughts. In all these 3 states, there is one thing that is always there. Aham iti hayam. Consciousness illumines all of that. As I. It's illumining that. Continuing, he says, Yah pashyati swayam sarvam. Yah pashyati swayam sarvam. Yam na pashyati kaschana. Yam na pashyati kaschana. Yaschetayati buddhyadi. Yaschet ayati buddhyadi. Natadyam chetayatyayam. Natadyam chetayatyayam. Yapashyati swayam sarvam. Yam na pashyati kaschana. Yaschetayati buddhyadi. Natadyam chetayatyayam. He continues with the definition. The second line, I am this, meaning referring to consciousness. This consciousness is Atma. What is that consciousness? We go to the first line. It says, Yaha Swayam Sarvam Pashyati. Consciousness is everything without the help of any instrument. Swayam. If the mind has to know anything, the mind needs the sense organs as an instrument. If I have to hear something, the mind needs the ears. It uses the ears, gathers the sound, and then it processes it. If I have to see, my eyes should be open, should be able to see. Therefore, normally, knowledge takes place when the relevant instrument are operative. That's the mind operating. But when it comes to consciousness, that consciousness illumines whatever happens in the mind. And it doesn't require any other instrument. That is why the word Swayam. Swayam means without any external assistance, consciousness can illumine. So, Sarvam Swayam Pashyati. Consciousness knows everything. Kaschana Yam Na Pashyati. Whereas nobody or nothing can illumine or know the consciousness. Consciousness knows everything, but nothing can know consciousness as an object. Okay, that's what we mean. The idea is consciousness is ever the experiencer, ever the knower, never the experience, never the known. That is how you should understand. That's why the study of consciousness is extremely difficult, because everything that we know every other thing that we know, we all an object. There are certain things that our eyes can readily see, sounds that we can hear, all that very easily. But then there are other things. There may be the microbes, the normal eye cannot see. So we have sophisticated instrument, a microscope, that we can use and see those germs and all that, microbes we can see. Or there are objects that are so far that our normal eye cannot see them. Again, we use telescopes. Sophisticated instruments are there. And we have gotten to know so many things, but all of them we know as objects. But this consciousness is not an object. So you, however sophisticated instrument be, it will not be able to see consciousness, to hear consciousness, to smell consciousness. Study of consciousness, when done by the scientists, they are not studying the consciousness itself. They are studying various organs in which consciousness manifests. The study of the brain, they study the brain and think they are studying consciousness. They study the neurons and think that is the study of consciousness. They study the cell and think that it is a study of consciousness. The brain is not consciousness. Vedanta says, okay, medical science, they may have a different definition, description, etc. Neurons are not consciousness. Cell is not consciousness. They are all inert objects of consciousness only. Media by which consciousness manifests. Remove the brain, consciousness itself is not available for study. Therefore, whatever idea we form about consciousness, through all this work that they are doing, they will just be some hypothesis, some theory, speculation, some conjecture alone. Nobody can clearly say this is consciousness and show it to you. So do not rely upon any instrument to know consciousness. We have to rely on Shastra, which says consciousness is an independent entity. It is not part of the brain. It's not part of the body. It's not a product of any neuronal phenomenon. It is an independent entity. Then how come I experience consciousness in the brain only? It's not because brain produces it, but because brain is able to serve as the medium for its manifestation. Therefore, maximum credit we can give to the brain is that it's a very good medium to do so. Therefore, he says, it is the experiencer of everything, consciousness is. And it is never experienced by anything. Moreover, yaha buddhyadi chetayati. Not only it is of the nature of consciousness, it is capable of lending consciousness to some of the inert things of creation. The Atma is capable of lending consciousness. Not to everything, but to some chosen inert things of the creation. The inert thing which can borrow consciousness from the Atma is what? The mind, buddhi. I've said this many, many times. The mind, by its nature, is inert. It is made of subtle elements. Of course, from predominantly sattva guna is there, and that is why it gets to borrow consciousness. Whereas other objects like a piece of stone, not dominant in that, it's more of tamas, and therefore doesn't have the ability to reflect, to borrow consciousness. That is the difference. The mind has the unique ability to borrow consciousness. And once the mind has borrowed this consciousness, it becomes a secondary source. I don't have any money, but some unsuspecting lender has okayed a loan for me. Then I have a few change in my pocket to jiggle with. Pockets were empty. Now I have a few pieces of change. Somebody gave me the money. I can use that money, go buy stuff. The same way, consciousness is loaned, the mind has borrowed it, and then it gets to play with it. And it loans it further to the sense organs, to the body, so on and so forth. So the senses and the body are alive, having borrowed consciousness from the borrowed consciousness of the mind. That's how this goes on. Thus, Atma is sentient, and with borrowed consciousness, the mind becomes sentient. And further, lending it to the body, sense organs, they also become sentient. And we are able to do things, know things. But beyond the body, objects cannot borrow consciousness. Maximum is up to the body alone. Even in the body, every part does not borrow consciousness. Thank God. It goes only up to the hair and the nail. If the consciousness had gone into the nail and to your hair, the nail salons will not be making any money. Other beauty parlors, they won't be making any money. You dare not go there. No barber shop will be there. Then it will become like hospitals. They have to put you under anesthesia and give you a haircut. Anyway, Shankaracharya says, Buddhyadi chetayati. Atma enlivens the buddhi. Adi. Adi means the mind, sense organs, body, everything. Thus, Atma enlivens the body-mind complex, but not the other way around. Tad yam na chetayati. The body, mind, they do not enliven the Atma. Here also, an aside point, we have discussed this several times. We have to remember in this context, the body borrows consciousness from the mind alone. Body does not have the capacity to borrow consciousness from the Atma directly. Body doesn't go there to Atma. Because the body does not have that much of sattva in it to be able to do that. Only mind has got direct access to Atma, whereas body does not directly borrow consciousness from Atma. If body can directly borrow consciousness from the Atma, the body will never die. The body can act just like the mind, because Atma is there everywhere, all the time. And if the body can go borrow consciousness, he'll ever be alive. So, Atma will never die if it has that ability. So many interesting points are there as we think about this. Continuing verse 128. Yena veshvamidam vyaptam Yena vishvamidam vyaptam yam na vyapnoti kinchana abharupamidam sarvam yam bhantam anubatyayam yena vishvamidam vyaptam yam na vyapnoti kinchana abharupamidam sarvam yam bhantamanubhatyatam yam. Look at the second line. I am this, referring to the ever evident consciousness that is the Atma. The pronoun this, when we use the word this, it is used for something which is evident right in front of me. If something is far away, we will use the term that. When we use this, we refer to something which is very evident. The scriptures use this for Atma. Are some of you remembering this discussion from Panchadashi? I guess last week we started this discussion about I am this. Same idea here. So the scriptures use the word I am this for Atma to indicate that Atma is ever evident consciousness. Open the eyes, consciousness is evident. You close the eyes, consciousness is still evident for you. You open the eyes, consciousness evident as the illuminator of the forms and colors. You close the eyes, consciousness is evident as the illuminator of the absence of those forms and colors. So you can talk about the presence of colors, you can talk about the absence of colors. All that is possible because of consciousness alone. So also the presence of sound, absence of sound, all objects. Sabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. So it is referred to as I am, eternally and ever evident. This consciousness is Yena idam vishvam vyaptam. Vyaptam, pervaded. So this consciousness is that by which all this is pervaded. This is an important line because in the previous shlokas, we said consciousness is aware of thoughts and the absence of thoughts. All the time we talk about consciousness as a witness, as an illuminator. When I say witness, we take invariably consciousness as something located within the body. The Shastra also tells us to turn within to realize that Atma. They say, don't be so extroverted. Don't keep going out, 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 out. Turn inside. Turn inward. So with all that, you might get an impression that the consciousness, that Atma, is something that is inside of you. And we also use the word Dehi. Deha, body, Dehi, embodied. So thinking that is something inside the body. So Bhashyakara here wants to break that notion. Therefore he says, Yena idam vishvam vyaptam. The whole universe is pervaded by consciousness. It's not only an independent entity, it is also an all-pervading entity. Okay, if consciousness is all-pervading, how come I don't recognize it everywhere? I can experience consciousness only in my body. We've just seen the explanation. It is because the mind that we have, which has the ability to borrow consciousness, this Atma is there, mind is in its proximity. Because of that, it borrows that consciousness. And then it lends the reflected consciousness to the senses, body, etc., etc. So with all this discussion, yes, I'm able to understand, experience consciousness in my body. And similarly, when I see others, living beings, other human beings, other living beings, I see the expression. So consciousness I can recognize. How come I don't recognize it outside of that? Human beings and living beings. So for that, Shankaracharya gives the answer. You may recall, those of you who studied Atma Bodha, beautiful verse. Sada sarvagato api atma na sarvatra avabhasate. Buddhau eva avabhasate swacheshu pratibimbavat. Just as you see a reflection, pratibimba, swacheshu, only in a polished surface. Light is there everywhere, but the light doesn't get reflected in all objects. If it's a well-polished surface, like a mirror, it has the ability to reflect the sunlight. But if it is a wall, for instance, it's not polished, light falls on it, but it does not have the ability. It is the medium which is capable of reflecting or not reflecting. So a suitable medium is required. It's not a limitation of sunlight. It's a limitation of the medium. In the same way, consciousness is there everywhere, but it can be reflected in only certain media. It's a limitation of the medium. So the whole universe is pervaded by consciousness, but yam na vyapnoti kaschan. Nothing can pervade consciousness. Same idea. Consciousness knows everything, but you cannot know consciousness as an object. We said same idea here. Consciousness pervades everything, but nothing can pervade consciousness. If you want to cover your body, that blanket should be bigger than your body. If you have a small blanket, throughout the night there will be a tug of war. If you cover the head, the legs will be out. And vice versa. This is a constant battle with your spouse. They just hog those sheets. So you are cold. So the pervader has to be bigger. But nothing is bigger than that Atma. It's all pervading. Therefore, yam na vyapnoti kinchana. The Atma is that which is not pervaded by anything. The second line has two readings. Abharupam or Abharupam. We will first take idam sarvam abharupam. Bha means Chaitanya, Chetana. Therefore, abharupam is achetana rupam, jada rupam, inert. All this anatma is achetana. In Vedanta, achetana is defined as that which cannot prove its existence by itself. Now, the opposite, Chetana, is edge, proves its existence by itself. I do not have to prove my existence to yourself. Do you have to prove your existence to yourself? No. Anything other than me, the wall, the pen, the book, can know or itself. The book doesn't come up to you and say, hello, I am the book. Doesn't say that. I, the self-evident one alone, I don't have to prove my existence. I illumine myself, and then after that, I shine the rest of the world. Therefore, idam abharupam sarvam anubhati. All this achetana prapancha reveals itself only behind the Atma. So the entire inert universe reveals its existence only indirectly behind the Atma, through the Atma. What type of Atma? Yam bhantam, that Atma which reveals its existence directly. Thus, bhatam shines independently. Anubhati illumines the rest. So if we take the second reading, abharupam, then the word should be adjective to Atma. Therefore, abharupa Atma pervades idam sarvam. All this pervades the world. If you're going to take abharupam, then it will become adjective to the world. Then Atma pervades the world, which is abharupam, insentient. So both readings are okay. The final essence is the sentient Atma pervades the insentient universe. Then yam bhantam anubhatyam is also important. Whenever I experience the world, there are two things that I experience. One is a self-shining consciousness and the non-self-shining world. That which bhantam shines by itself and anubhati illumines the inert world. That is the Atma. So in one line, Bhashyakara has condensed the well-known Upanishadic mantra. I'm sure those of you who've been studying this immediately recognize that mantra. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyito bhanti kutoya magnihi tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. This occurs in Kathopanishad, which we have studied. It also occurs in Mundakopanishad, which we will study in a little while. The Sara, the essence of that mantra, Bhashyakara has given in the last line. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.